Hello guys, so my name is Anna Belmonte and I'm a second grade teacher at Schultz Elementary in Irving ISD. And today I'm going to talk to you about Science Talk. That was my poster goal for Wipro, second year of Wipro. Okay, so let me go ahead and zoom in to get started. Let me zoom out really fast so you can see the gist of my poster, and then I will zoom in. Okay. So the research and question rationale that I had was to determine the impact of science learning and an increase of academic conversations of my second graders. Second graders struggle to have academic conversations, and they struggle even more if they're bilingual students, which I work with bilingual students, so I have a lot of newcomers, a lot of students who are still developing their second language, English. So my goal was to observe and facilitate second grade students' conversations about their science projects and learning using Science Talk. The need to increase the time students conversate about science through sentence stems that guides their conversations. So here are two pictures of the science projects that they created, and they would create these projects towards the end of a unit once I had already taught it, and once they had already had some exploration time, some investigation time. So they really, really loved it. Okay, research. So I based up my research off of 4 articles, and I'm just going to focus on 2 because you guys can read it. Language is not just a means by which individuals can formulate ideas and communicate them. It is also a means for people to think and learn together. I absolutely agree. My students, whenever they would have science talk before, they would increase significantly in their post-assessment of the unit. But then I would ask them questions, like, oh, what did you like about learning about motion? What did you like about learning about energy? And they would be so limited. And after Science Talk, if I would ask them a question like that, they could go on and on and on. And I know that it was because of the conversations they were having with their peers. They learned together. So Science Talk supports science learning by providing opportunities to clarify thoughts, generate conclusions, develop theories, and ask new questions. Okay. So I work at Schultz Elementary, and last year there were 607 students here, 59% of them English language learners and 88% of them. So my method. Students created projects near the end of 3 units. We did a unit on energy, motion, and the phases of the moon. And they represented their learning using the projects, and they conducted science talk over each project with a different partner. I'm not going to lie to you, the first project was very teacher-led. And the second project was less teacher-led, but I was still facilitating a lot of their conversations and just reminding them to use the stems. And here are the stems that I used. So when one student was presenting their project to the other one, the one that was listening would be like, hey, do you need more time to think? Can you say more about, like, if they were listening to the explanation of the project, they'd be like, can you say more about the birdhouses or the balls in the middle? So you're saying that's whenever they would repeat what the first student had just said, and we're a lot of like, oh wait, no, I didn't try to say that. Sorry. Why do you think that? I really like that one. How can you prove it? Or how can you prove that? What if? That was one of my favorite questions. What if? Because like that's what they would be like, for example, like the project with the spheres in the middle of the 2 birdhouses. What if there was no wind? What would happen to them? And then they would do the I agree with you because, I disagree with you because, I would like to add that, I think you should. I think you should was one of my favorites too, because they would point out in each other's projects like, hey, I think you should do this next time, without me having to say it. That was amazing. They were like mini teachers. And I use these check boxes because partner A would present their poster to partner B, and so partner B would just be checking it off. Like, did I cover these stems? Each topic had a pre-assessment and 10 content questions. Each topic had a 5E lesson. And here are the sentence starters that I just went over. Post-assessment had 10 questions, content questions. And then if you scan this QR code, you can see a snip of science talk for topic 1. And I will show you guys the science talk at the end of my presentation. Here is the data. So here is the one on the left is the pre-assessment, and the one on the right is the post-assessment. So here you see how many students didn't pass, and then how many students did pass after the unit was over. It had already been taught, they had already been doing explorations, and they had already done science talk with one another. So they did better in each unit, and they just did amazing. I'm not gonna stay there too long because it speaks for itself, but here's a survey that I gave them. Here's the first question: did you like science talk? All of them said yes. They would even be like, when are we gonna do science talk? It's my turn today to do science talk with so-and-so. Like, don't forget. I'm like, yes, fine. Did it help you learn more about each topic? 78% of them said yes. 22% said that they still knew the same. Did your thinking change? 86% said yes. 13% said no, that they still thought the same. Did you want to modify, improve your projects after you did science talk? And the majority said yes, because they would help each other. Like, hey, I think you should do this instead. And that really helped. Here's one of my favorite projects, Phases of the Moon. He said, I love talking to my friends about science. They gave me cool ideas. So, in the words of a second grader. Okay, so here is more about the results. Here is an example of the first project after one of their first projects after we did the first unit. And you know, I feel like once they did this project, the first project, and they had science talk, and they had the I think you should conversation, like their second project came around really well. And the project of Phases of the Moon was the last unit. So you saw the students' project below. So they just did amazing. They improved in their detail, they improved in their conversation, they improved in their knowledge of the unit. So in every unit, the students improved in their understanding. Like I showed you in the pre and the post assessments, an average of 80% of my class passed the post assessment. So this was my second year doing science talk in the classroom. My first year, I implemented science talk in the end of the year. Like they had already been with me for the majority of the year, and it just worked out beautifully. Like my students were better readers. They, you know, if they were better readers, they were speaking in complete sentences, and they were speaking even more. But then this year, the one that I just showed you, I had to do it in the beginning of the school year because of Wipro. Like I needed to make sure I was on my timeline, and it was a challenge. It was more appropriate to start it with my second graders. But if first grade had been doing it, I feel like my second graders coming in right off the bat, we could jump into it. But my second graders hadn't heard anything of science talk the year before, so it's more appropriate. If they've never heard about it, it's more appropriate the second half of the year. Here's one of my favorite ones from one of my second graders for Phases of the Moon, when they were showing each other their projects. What if there was no sun? Would the phases of the moon change? And the other student, I already forgot what the other student said, but I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a good question. Applications for future. If I start at the beginning of the year, I would start in a small group. I would implement sentence starters in other content areas. Like those are amazing sentence starters. So they would fit well with math, because math has so many models. We use a lot of models for math. And I would integrate more technology.
What else are you going to ask him? Can you? Me? You're going to ask him. Can you say more about that? Can you say more about that? Yes. So if you said yes, what else are you going to say?
So yes, this was the first unit, and can you say more about that? Man, they got stuck on that one a lot, and most of my kids were non-readers. Most of my kids couldn't read the sentence done, so I had to keep repeating it to them. So it was a struggle.
How is your model showing energy correctly?
How is your model showing correctly? This is light energy. This is heat.
Okay, let me show you guys another one.
The moon that I chose was thin, and it also spins it rotates in the same place, and it gives electric energy to the houses for the TV and everything that's electric.
So you are saying that you're showing projects spin?
Yes.
I go to your page.
So you can see my students here, like these were some of my highest students. So they were more, this was the second time around, so they were more like comfortable with the sentence starters and they just did amazing. And you heard their conversation. They improved a lot. So thank you so much for joining me today and sharing my poster goal that I did. I hope that you guys implement Science Talk, and there's a lot of science sentence stems, or not even science, but Science Talk stems out there in the web that you can use, and it just push your students, believe in them, and they're gonna improve. You're not just like benefiting you as a teacher because they're gonna know how to have longer discussions. No, it benefits them, and it's going to benefit them in science, and I'm sure in other content areas as well. So thank you so much for joining me today, and take care.